US to close airspace to Russian flights, joining Europeans. 80,000 Ukrainians returning from abroad to fight. Ministry says Ukraine's Interior Ministry says 80,000 of its citizens have returned from abroad to help defend the country since February 24. Ukrainian citizens who work or temporarily live abroad are returning to their homeland to protect its sovereignty and territorial integrity, it says in a statement. They join the ranks of the armed forces, other military formations and territorial defense forces. Almost all of the 80,000 are men, it notes. Non-Ukrainians are also traveling to the country to join the war, according to reports, answering a call for a foreign legion by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Japan says 70 of its citizens, including veterans of its defense forces and the French Foreign Legion, have applied to travel there to fight, Reuters reports. Biden to focus on Ukraine as State of the Union kicks off. U.S. President Joe Biden's first State of the Union is about to begin. Biden's staff has revised the speech multiple times in recent days to include references to Ukraine, and he is expected to focus on the war at the top of the address, CNN reports. Many members of Congress are wearing lapels or emblems showing support with the embattled country. The White House has positioned Ukraine's ambassador to the U.S. next to First Lady Jill Biden for the speech, in a sign of support. "We stand with Ukraine," Vice President Kamala Harris tells reporters as she arrives at the Capitol. After criticism, Israel to co-sponsor UN resolution condemning Russia. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. announces that Jerusalem will co-sponsor a UN resolution condemning Russia, following criticism from the West over its attempts to balance support for Kyiv and maintaining ties with Russian President Vladimir Putin. In a series of tweets, Michael Herzog says Israel undeniably supports Ukraine, its sovereignty and its territorial integrity. As FM at Yair Lapid reiterated and we articulated to our American friends, Israel believes in upholding the international order and undeniably supports Ukraine, its sovereignty and its territorial integrity. Ambassador Michael Herzog at AMP Herzog March 2, 2022, but he indicates that Israel does not want to jeopardize its ability to strike Iran-backed forces in Syria, which depends on Russia's tacit support. While our moral position is clear, we are striving to pursue it in a way that will maintain our freedom of operations against Iran in the region, which is in everybody's interest, he tweets. The announcement comes after Israel was criticized for refusing to sell missile defense systems to Ukraine and balking at support for a UN resolution condemning Moscow last week, which reportedly drew a rebuke from the US. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said earlier that Israel was seeking to help quietly, while maintaining its own strategic interests. The State of Israel has taken a measured and responsible approach, which allows us not only to protect our interests, but also to be useful, Bennett said. It's unclear why Herzog makes the announcement and not Israel's ambassador to the UN Gilad Erdan, but earlier in the day the government signaled unhappiness with Erdan, tasking his deputy with delivering a speech backing Ukraine at the UN. U.S. expected to ban Russian overflights, reports the U.S. is planning to ban Russian flights from using its airspace, The Wall Street Journal and Reuters report. The move would follow several European countries taking the same measure, leading to reciprocal bans from Moscow. Reuters reports the ban is expected to go into effect Wednesday, and comes after the White House has held talks with airlines over the last several days. European diplomat slams Israeli attempts to keep Putin ties intact. A European diplomat criticizes Israel's cautious policy on the Ukraine conflict in a phone call with the Times of Israel. Israel can't decide not to be on the side of the European countries and the United States, the diplomat says, speaking on condition of anonymity. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said today that Israel was seeking to help quietly, while maintaining its own strategic interests. The State of Israel has taken a measured and responsible approach, which allows us not only to protect our interests, but also to be useful, Bennett said. Demonstrators carried placards and flags during a protest against the Russian invasion to the Ukraine, outside the City Hall in Jerusalem, on February 28, 2022. Olivier Fitoussi, Flash 90. The diplomat says that European countries are aware of Israel's security interests. But the official also adds that Israel is putting too much weight on maintaining good ties with Russian President Vladimir Putin. How is Israel ready to trust a president that is violating all his relations with all the world, that this outweighs anything else for Israel, the diplomat says. Belarus sending more troops to Ukraine border, Lukashenko says. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko says he ordered more troops to the south of the country, by the border with Ukraine, the Belta news agency reports. But he says forces of Belarus, a close ally of Russia, would not be taking part in the attack on Ukraine. That's not our job, he says. Lukashenko tells his Security Council that he will be sending 5 tactical battle groups to protect the south. These battle groups will comprise hundreds of soldiers equipped with armored vehicles and artillery. Helicopters and warplanes were already protecting the southern border. He says a massive 40-mile-long Russian convoy is currently sitting on a road between Belarus and Kyiv, and U.S. intelligence officials believe the troops may have run out of food or fuel, following poor logistical planning. Ukraine says Chechen assassins targeting Zelensky taken out. The head of Ukraine's National Security Council says a group of Chechen assassins sent to kill President Volodymyr Zelensky have been killed after their plot was foiled. Oleksiy Danilov says Russian intel officers who oppose the war provided information that allowed Ukrainian forces to find the unit of Chechen special forces under the direction of warlord Ramzan Kadyrov, an ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Kadyrov forces unit, which came to kill our president, was eliminated, he tells Ukraine 24 TV. We will not give our president or our country to anyone. This is our land, get out of here. Zelensky has said that he is the Kremlin's #1 target and his family the second highest on Russia's kill list. He told CNN today that he had not seen his family in 3 days. Biden to talk up NATO, slam Putin in State of the Union address. U.S. President Joe Biden says that dictators who do not pay a price for their aggression cause more chaos. According to excerpts released Tuesday ahead of his first State of the Union address, Biden says that Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine was premeditated and unprovoked. He will also highlight the importance of European allies in the speech before Congress at the U.S. Capitol on Tuesday evening. Biden says that the alliance established after World War II to secure peace and stability in Europe is just as relevant now. He says that Putin believed the NATO alliance would not respond and Americans would be divided, but Putin was wrong. We were ready. Reports suggest Russian forces have taken Kherson Central Square. Pictures published online appear to show that the Russian army has taken over the city center of Kherson, a key southern Ukrainian city on the mouth of the Dnieper where battles have raged for days. Just now, Kherson, Freedom Square. The Russian military completely occupy the square. Checkmark verified photo and information's hashtag #UkraineRussia conflict hashtag Ukraine hashtag Russia pic.twitter.com/shhalproshi Ukraine Russia bot check at UA_botwit March 1, 2022. A picture, which cannot be independently verified, shows Russian military vehicles surrounding the city's Freedom Square. Earlier reports out of Kherson, one of a number of Black Sea port cities to be targeted by in the early stages of the Kremlin's offensive, indicated that Russian forces were in the city, setting off street battles there. The city is home to a sizable Jewish community. Alexander Vayner, director of the Jewish Care Group Heseds branch in Kherson, spoke to Toy on Sunday, saying the situation there was critical. Everybody has been told to stay at home, close to the shelters, he said. The town seems to be dead, there's nobody outside. The sirens go off all the time. There is no food in the shops and people have to survive on what was bought before. With reporting from Sue Sirks. Zelensky says he expects Russian assault to ramp up. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he expects Russia to double up its onslaught against his country, after it suffered initial losses in its initial sallies into Ukraine. Zelensky, looking tired, makes the comments to CNN from a darkened government building, with sandbags all around. He says that while he expects Russian President Vladimir Putin to ratchet up the offensive, he remains confident in his forces, noting that they are fighting for their homeland, and that the Russians don't know anything about where they are. But he repeats his pleas for Western aid, saying that Ukraine cannot stand up to the full might of the Russian military alone. Switching between Ukrainian and broken English, Zelensky indicates he remains skeptical that talks with Russia will achieve much, saying they could be a waste of time. We'll see if the Russians are ready for peace, he says. Apple says it has paused all product sales in Russia. Tech giant Apple announces a halt in all product sales in Russia, the latest fallout over Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. We have paused all product sales in Russia. Last week, we stopped all exports into our sales channel in the country, says an Apple statement carried by U.S. media. The Apple logo is displayed in an Apple store in Lower Manhattan, on August 2, 2018, in New York City. Spencer Platt, Getty Images, AFP. Ukraine seeks to boot Russia from the internet. Kyiv, Ukraine has effectively asked that Russia be kicked off the internet. In a letter sent to the president of the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, Ukraine's Deputy Minister for Digital Transformation, Mikhailo Fedorov, cited the atrocious crimes of Russia's invasion, including its alleged breach of the Geneva Conventions in attacking civilian targets. Fedorov says the crimes have been made possible mainly due to the Russian propaganda machinery, and cites cyberattacks from the Russian side that have impeded the ability of Ukrainians and the government to communicate. Fedorov asks that ICANN revoke, permanently or temporarily, the domains ruined, and shut down the root servers in Moscow and St. Petersburg that match domain names and numbers. Russian citizens must feel the cost of war, government spokesperson Alexander Ryzhenko says today. ICANN has no immediate comment, but the Regional Internet Naming Authority for Europe and the former Soviet Union, RIPE-NCC, rejects the request. In an email to members, RIPE's executive board says it believes the means to communicate should not be affected by domestic political disputes, international conflicts or war. Kicking Russia off the internet would be an annoyance to Russian hackers, but it wouldn't stop them since they could still use different top-level internet domains. But it would badly isolate the Russian public from international discourse.